They say love transcends time, but what happens when time forgets love? Picture a small, quiet town in Pennsylvania, where an old farmhouse has stood for generations. The creaking floors, the faded wallpaper, and the scent of aged wood all tell the story of a place that once thrived with life. Now, in the summer of 2023, a family gathers in this house for what may be the last time. With heavy hearts, they prepare to sell it, sorting through the remnants of lives long past. The attic, a space that had gone untouched for years, was the final frontier. It was cluttered with dusty trunks, stacks of old newspapers, and forgotten trinkets. As beams of sunlight filtered through the small attic window, the family worked to uncover its secrets. That's when they found Ida's small wooden chest, locked tight and weathered by time. The lock was rusted, but with some effort, they managed to pry it open. What they discovered inside left them speechless. The chest was filled with letters, each neatly tied with a ribbon that had long since lost its color. Among the collection, one envelope stood out. It was addressed simply to Eleanor, with no last name or address, and dated July 3, 1943. The sender? A man named James. The paper was delicate, almost translucent with age, and the ink had begun to fade. The family, intrigued and slightly hesitant, carefully unfolded the letter. Its contents revealed a story so raw and powerful that it felt as though time itself had stood still. "My dearest Eleanor," the letter began, "it's been 86 days since I last held your hand, and every moment apart feels like an eternity. The war has taken me far from you, but my heart remains with you always. Tonight, under the pale moonlight of a foreign land, I find myself dreaming of home of you. I see your face in every star, hear your laughter in every breeze. Do you remember that night by the lake? You wore that blue dress, the one that made you look like an angel. I held your hand and promised you forever. I still promise you that, my love, no matter where this war takes me." The words leaped off the page, carrying with them an almost tangible weight of longing and devotion. This was not just any letter, it was a declaration of love in the midst of chaos. The family could feel James's heartbreak, his hope, and his unwavering dedication to Eleanor. But as they read further, questions began to arise. Why hadn't Eleanor ever received this letter? Why had it remained locked away in this chest for all these years? And most haunting of all, what had happened to James? Determined to uncover the truth, the family delved into their town's history, combing through local archives and speaking with historians. Piece by piece, they began to assemble the puzzle. James Turner, as they discovered, had been a 22-year-old soldier from their very own town. Before the war, he had worked at the local steel mill, known for his quick wit and kind heart. He was the kind of man who made friends wherever he went. James had met Eleanor at a town dance in the summer of 1941. She was radiant, with an energy that seemed to light up the room, and James was immediately drawn to her. Their connection was instant, and their love story blossomed quickly. By the winter of 1942, James had proposed to Eleanor under a snow-dusted gazebo in the town square. She said yes, and, for a brief moment, it seemed as though their future was set. But their happiness was short-lived. In early 1943, James received his draft notice. The United States had entered World War II, and young men across the nation were being called to serve. For James and Eleanor, the news was devastating. Their plans for the future were suddenly put on hold, and their love story was thrust into uncertainty. James left for basic training, and soon after, he was deployed overseas. For the couple, letters became their lifeline. Each word written on paper was a way to bridge the distance and remind each other of the bond they shared. But the letter dated July 3, 1943, would be James's last. As the family continued their research, they uncovered a tragic truth. James had been deployed to Sicily as part of the Allied invasion. On July 10, just days after writing the letter, James was killed in action during a skirmish with enemy forces. The letter, along with his other belongings, was returned to his family, but for reasons unknown, it was never sent to Eleanor. Perhaps James's parents didn't know about her, or perhaps, in their grief, they couldn't bear to part with the last tangible piece of their son. Whatever the reason, the letter remained hidden in the chest, untouched, for decades. Meanwhile, Eleanor's life took a different path. In 1946, she married a local businessman named Thomas and went on to have 3 children. Yet, even as she built a new life, she never forgot James. In photographs from her later years, Eleanor could often be seen wearing a small, heart-shaped pendant. Inside that pendant was a tiny photograph of James, a silent testament to the love she had carried with her all those years. Eleanor spoke of James often to her children and grandchildren, recounting the magical night they met and the way he had made her feel. "He was the love of my life," she would say. "He taught me what it means to love someone unconditionally. the discovery of the letter brought new life to her story, serving as a powerful reminder of the enduring power of love and the resilience of the human spirit. Even though Eleanor had moved on, her heart had always held a special place for James. To her family, the discovery of this letter felt like finding a missing piece of her story, a piece she had long kept hidden in her memories. The words James had written so many years ago, filled with longing and devotion, brought tears to their eyes. It was as if his voice had traveled through time, reaching out not just to Eleanor, but to all of them. The family decided to dig deeper, hoping to uncover more about James's life and legacy. Through their research, they found stories from other soldiers who had fought alongside him. One particular account, written by a fellow soldier in a journal, described James as a kind and selfless man who always put others before himself. James was the type of guy who'd give you his last piece of bread if he thought you needed it more than he did, the soldier had written. He used to talk about Eleanor all the time, about how she was the reason he kept going. This portrait of James painted a picture of a man whose love and dedication were not just reserved for Eleanor but extended to everyone around him. His story, though marked by tragedy, was also a testament to the strength of the human spirit. As the family pieced together these fragments of James's life, they felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. They realized that this letter, though never delivered to Eleanor, had a purpose beyond what James could have imagined. It had survived the ravages of time to remind them and all of you of the importance of love, sacrifice, and connection. In the days that followed, the family decided to share James's story with their community. They donated the letter, along with other artifacts from the chest, to a local museum dedicated to preserving the history of the town. The museum staff was deeply moved by the story and created a special exhibit to honor James and Eleanor. Visitors to the museum could see the letter, carefully preserved, and learn about the love story that had captured the hearts of so many. The exhibit quickly became one of the museum's most popular attractions, drawing visitors from far and wide. People were touched by the story of a love that had endured despite the odds, and many left the exhibit with tears in their eyes. For some, it was a reminder of their own loved ones who had fought in the war. For others, it was a call to cherish the people in their lives and to express their love while they still had the chance. Eleanor's grandchildren, who had been deeply involved in uncovering the story, felt a renewed connection to their grandmother. Though she had passed away years earlier, they now understood her in a way they never had before. Her love for James, her strength in moving forward, and her unwavering commitment to her family were qualities that they now saw in a new light. One of Eleanor's great-grandchildren, inspired by the story, decided to write a book about James and Eleanor's love. The book, titled Letters Across Time, became a bestseller, capturing the hearts of readers around the world. In interviews, the author often spoke about the impact of discovering the letter and how it had changed the way their family saw love and legacy. This story isn't just about James and Eleanor, they would say. It's about all of us. It's about remembering that the connections we make and the love we share are what truly matter. So, the book's success brought even more attention to the story, and soon, filmmakers expressed interest in turning it into a movie. The family, though initially hesitant, eventually agreed, hoping that James and Eleanor's story could inspire an even wider audience. The film, when it was released, became a critical and commercial success, further solidifying the timeless appeal of their love story. For the family, the journey of uncovering the letter had been transformative. What had started as a simple act of cleaning out an old house had turned into an exploration of their own history, a celebration of love, and a reminder of the power of words. The letter had bridged the gap between the past and the present, connecting generations and leaving an indelible mark on everyone who encountered its story.